I want to start talking about Darius Garland and how instrumental he was to this organization, how thankful we are for him and what he brought to us. You know, we're not here today without him, to be quite honest. The excitement, the imagination, the creativity that he brought to this team was incredible. We drafted Darius after 4.5 games of college and flew out to LA as a staff to watch him work out, and he captivated us, our imaginations, and it was an incredible run with him. 7 years. We grew with him. He made this place a destination, a cool place to play, from 19 wins to 22 wins to 44 wins. Really remarkable what he accomplished for us and really put us back on the map as an organization. Because we're out in LA, I got to talk with him one-on-one when the trade happened. And you got to be honest, we got teary-eyed. That's how much he means to me as a person. His family is incredible. Felicia, Winston, his brother Dez, just incredible people. And that's what makes this job difficult, or one of the hardest things you have to do in this job. And so we wish Darius nothing but the best. Obviously, he's going to a top flight organization that's thrilled to have him playing on an incredible stage. Some of you are out here at the Intuit Dome. He's going to light that place up. Probably make me look bad in a few years from now, but that's all good. We wish him nothing but the best, and just really want to emphasize how much he meant to our organization and how much we love him. So that's where I wanted to start. Obviously, we made a monumental trade to land James Harden. We think that he raises our ceiling, and gives us a chance to have real playoff success. James is a top 75 player of all time, one of the greatest players in NBA history that's still playing at an elite level. He gives us a different look in the backcourt. He's 6'5", and he gets downhill. He leads the league, or say ninth in the league in drives. He's strong. He's creative. I think he's going to be great for our bigs. And I also know that Donovan's excited to play alongside of him. Obviously, this is not a trade that we took lightly, but we do know that James is going to help us. And so we're excited to welcome him. And then obviously adding Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis, adding to our depth there, our defensive prowess. We really felt like we got a lot better in this deadline. And it's rare. I'll say this, it's very rare to improve your team and save $100 million at the same time. So I'll just say that as well. But with that, I will open it up for questions, and I really appreciate everyone jumping on.
Chris?
Hey, Kobe.
Chris.
What made you feel like the time was right, the time was now to break up the core four?
So that's a great question. I would say opportunity. This is how adamant I've been about preserving not just the core four, but just our future, building through the draft and having continuity. This opportunity was brought to us several weeks ago, and a place that James really identified that he would want to be here and win a championship, try to win a championship. Love the roster, love the fit. And so, kind of shows you, because this was presented to us a while back, not something we jumped on right away. We certainly had, from an internal process, had to sit down, really discuss this opportunity. Was this the right time, to your question? And get to a place where we all felt comfortable doing it. So really opportunity sort of raised its hand, and we evaluated the opportunity and realized this gives us a chance to win. And that's the ultimate goal, Chris, is to try to get to a conference finals, a finals, and win a championship. And we think without a doubt that James raises our level. James Harden has never missed the playoffs in his career. Think about that. 16 years. James has played in 173 playoff games, over 6,000 minutes logged of playoff basketball, and playing at elite level this year. That helps us. And so that was the reason.
And then Koby, what level of input, if any, did Donovan have in this trade, and how did his contract status play into your guys' decision making?
Yeah. So listen, I mean, Donovan, the great news is Donovan's all in. He's all in on Cleveland. He's bought in pre-trade, before trade, coming into the season, all of it. He is laying down roots here. He loves the city. He loves what we're doing as an organization. Um, I think, of course, you want feedback from your best player. But that's not Donovan's job. Donovan's job is not to run in my office and tell me to go get this player or make this move. Do we want his input? Absolutely. Just like I want my head coach's input, just like I want my staff's input. You know, a lot goes into decision making and evaluation. And there's future outlooks that we wouldn't even talk to Donovan about from a financial implication standpoint, right? So all of this goes into your process when you have to make a decision like this. And so it's not fair to label Donovan as the one that was driving this or forcing our hand or anything like that. Um, Donovan's been an incredible partner. Austin Brown, his representation, they've been incredible. And I think they're happy. I think he's happy about what we did, but certainly not the driving force behind it. And it's not fair to label him as such.
Thank you.
Danny?
Hey, Kobe. In what ways on the floor do you think James raises the ceiling for this team?
Danny, great question. So there's a basketball piece, right? How he's a magician in pick and roll and how great he is with the bigs and how he alleviates pressure for Donovan. You know, the guy's still averaging 25 points a game too, right? 25 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, doing just a remarkable job of being an offensive engine. I'm really excited about when it gets to a chaotic time in the playoffs and we're on the road and it's a fever pitch, being able to throw the ball to him and calm this thing down. Let's get a good possession, right? Let's get a good possession when it gets really, really tight, and it's loud in that building. You know, we've gone to the playoffs the last few years, largely as a young team, not a very experienced playoff team, trying to figure it out. And now I think we're adding just a tremendous amount of experience, know-how, and to be quite honest, James is motivated, highly, highly motivated. He knows this is the last piece to his legacy, and he sees a great chance with us. But he also is he's a savant. He thinks about things. He's already gone deep into the depth chart of what we can do and different lineups we can put out there. It's really exciting, Danny.
And how confident are you that 30 regular season games that remain is a long enough time for this group as a whole to figure out integrating such a large new piece?
I think, we are, missing the ball handling. We were missing the ball handling of Darius and certainly getting to the paint and creating and making easier baskets for the large portion of our roster. And so it really is a sort of a plug and play with James. But to your point, 30 games is not a long time, so we've got to get to it. And tomorrow's the first practice.
Joe?
Hey, Kobe.
Hey, sorry.
Hey, you guys were not by me, but you guys were linked as a possible suitor within the Giannis deal, or that didn't materialize. But you were linked to him as a rumor, and obviously the Bucks ended up not moving him. Had you had any discussions there? And I guess just from a bigger picture, you still have three of the four guys that you built this team with, and just what is the commitment level with those three?
First, so this is the first Zoom call I've been on in quite some time. So I don't, from your article about Zoom staff calls, we don't do those. And so just to respond to your article about us having Zoom staff calls, we don't do that. and we see each other in the hallway and talk about stuff. Relative to the trade deadline, I'll leave those conversations internal. To your point about us preserving sort of 3 of the 4 core 4, absolutely. Evan's our future. He'll always be a mainstay for us. He gives us an incredible runway to extend far beyond this year and next year. He's just scratching the surface as a 24-year-old. I really do think James is going to help him as well, and and JA. But to unlock Evan, truly, James has been remarkable track record with bigs. So we're excited about that partnership. And but in terms of internal conversations, that's not appropriate to talk about.
Everyone, can we please go ahead and say our names and our outlets before we ask our question? Next question, Joe Reedy.
Joe Reedy, AP. Koby, just in looking at this trade too, how much have you discussed with James it being beyond this season, since I know he has an option for next season coming up?
It's a good question, Joe. I think it's not appropriate to talk about his contract situation moving forward. We can start negotiating with him post finals, so it puts us in a driver's seat. He would love to have a future with the Cavaliers, and so I'll say that. I will say something that's interesting, knowing his contract status now, because he has an opt out in his contract. Because of that, he had a de facto no trade clause. He waived that to come to Cleveland. And I think that's something that needs to be spoken about. He had control of where he'd be traded or not traded, and he sought us out as a destination, a basketball destination, leaving lovely Los Angeles, right, and an incredible basketball situation where he's at to where he wants to be to compete for a championship. And so I've been banging this drum for a long time. Cleveland's a great basketball destination. You can have some of the best years of your career here. And guys want to play here. And one of the best players to ever put on a jersey wants to be here in Cleveland. And I think it's a privilege. I think it's a privilege and honor that we're going to see James surpass a bunch of milestones as he chases this championship ring with us.
And I mean, you guys were on a nice run leading into the trade deadline and are on a nice winning streak, but just adding 3, 4 players, just how much of it is a juggling act just with trying to build that cohesion with the roster and trying to make that climb up the Eastern Conference?
I think finding fit, Joe, is really important. So I think you saw last night how Dennis showed a fit right in, and Keon fit into what we're trying to do. Dennis, I know we're going to talk a lot about James, but how much Dennis is going to help us this year and how he picks up his tenacity. We lived in the paint last night just because he got downhill. Dennis raises his level at the highest level, right? And so when things get tight and the stakes are the highest, that's when Dennis raises his level. Dennis won a 2023 FIBA World Cup MVP and then won the MVP for the 2025 Eurobasket last year. There's like a handful of guys that's ever done that. Like he's real when it comes to competitive basketball. Those games internationally are one and done too. And so I love being able to add him to our playoff mix just because of his competitive level. And yeah, we have to ingratiate some new bodies, but you saw the hunger last night, you saw the tenacity last night, and then we still get to add James and then re-ingratiate Evan when he gets healthy.
Okay, thanks.
Tim Reynolds.
Hey, Koby. To
Tim.
follow up on what you just said about Dennis, everybody who watches the game understands that he can still play at a very high level, obviously. Why is it just that he's a tradable contract at time? It is just so odd that he's been on however many franchises he's been on. Is there any rhyme or reason to it, or is it just because it's a movable asset? The size of his contract just always seems to work.
All I know is the Cavs are excited to have him. as the Cavs are excited to have him. Listen, Kenny and him go back. Kenny coached him. We've tracked his career closely. I can't tell you what happened at other locations. I just know this fit right now, this year for the Cavs, he makes a lot of sense.
And one follow. And it's not fair to ask you to get inside the heads of 29 other of your colleagues around the league, but it seems like teams had two approaches, and a lot of it driven by the CBA, obviously. Either you're going to get out of the apron or lower your tax or try to get better. You found a way to do both. How, not asking you to pat yourself on the back, but just given the way trades have gone in the 3 years of the CBA, how almost impossible is it to do both like you guys pulled off?
We have an incredible staff, Tim. I employ a staff that's way smarter than me. We have John Nichols in our front office that runs our strategy group. He's incredible. He's a wizard, and he gives us a lot of different optionality. And so we knew we were going to the second apron this year, and we knew we'd have different strategies if we wanted to get out of it, different strategies to lower our tax bill. The good news is this was never a mandate from Dan from a tax savings perspective. It is nice to show up to your owner's doorstep and say, "Hey, we saved you $100 million," right? That's nice. But we never had that mandate from Dan. It's always how do you improve the roster? How do you give us the best chance to win? And I think, coming into the deadline, we were in the wilderness in terms of how do you see that getting out of that second apron? And we got closer after the DeAndre Hunter trade. And then obviously moving Lonzo into space gets you even closer. And so you could see it now. It's in clear sight. And I think in the summer, if we want to pull that lever, we can. But Tim, just so you understand, we're very fortunate to have a chairman and Dan and the Gilbert family that give us this amount of resources, right? To be competitive, to have a chance to be really successful. And the savings are not like Dan takes it and puts it in his pocket. I think what people need to understand is we have a basketball ecosystem, and we're going to put online next year one of the best practice facility ever built. Very expensive, right? Very expensive. And so I'm cognizant of that. That's an investment that Dan has made in our basketball team and our infrastructure. In 2028, we're welcoming a WNBA team, which is really exciting. That's a real investment, right, in basketball. And I think it's part of our whole ecosystem that he's investing in. When the women come, it's going to elevate the men too. So this is a whole strategy for years to come of how we can elevate basketball in Cleveland. And so we take it very serious. It's not an endless pit of money that we just want to use. We're very cognizant of how we're using the capital that we have. And if we have a chance to save, it helps us because we know it's going to go to another area that's going to improve Cleveland as a destination, a basketball destination. I appreciate that question.
Thanks, Koby.
Yep.
Real quick, everybody, I just want to make sure we are saying our names and our outlets. Next question, Spencer.
Spencer Davies, Clutch Points. What's up, Koby?
Hey, Spence.
So the first thing
Always the most prepared on Zoom. Look at that.
I'll say this. The thing I first thought of with this trade was the pace of the team. Harden is by nature an isolation player. Donovan's got a little bit of that in his game. This team has played pretty up-tempo as of late with Kenny. So how do you foresee Kenny adapting to that style, and what do you think the whole dynamic between Harden and Mitchell can be on the floor?
We're going to have to adapt to James. He's that good a player. But I think we're going to still run. It was funny. So I don't know if you guys noticed this last night. Dennis was playing so hard in his first stint. He actually asked to come out, and because he was playing so hard, and he came to the bench, and I guess he said, "Man, y'all play fast," because he was competing defensively, and we were getting the ball up the court. And so that's still part of what we do. I don't think that's going to stop. I do know that James is a great rebounder, and so our pitch ahead game is going to be great. I do think this, Spencer, and again, this move was made to when it gets really tough in the playoffs, right? The team takes away your play, your second counter, and we need to get the ball in Donovan's hands. We need to get the ball in James' hands, that we're going to have a great possession. we're going to have a great possession. And so really that's what we're thinking of. And in the playoffs, I do still think it comes down to largely a half court game when it comes down to it. And so we really, we're thinking about that, Spencer.
And then the next question I have is just I know that this is a different situation for him, and you guys talked about championship, and you even mentioned that this might even be like his last shot at one. But with James, he does have a history of leaving at the end of his tenures. Is that something that came into mind when you were doing this, when you have conversations with him? It just is something that's been a pattern.
It's a great question, Spencer. I think I want to say that this was not so. This exit from the Clippers was done the right way. I don't want people to think that this was a trade request. It wasn't a trade request from James. It was their organization, the Clippers organization, who we have a lot of close relationships with, came to James. James came to them. Is there a mutual win-win that we can have, right? And us putting a tremendous return on the table for James, right? That's a difference than him asking out or a trade request. And so it's very rare in sports where you have a true win-win. We hope that it will be, right? We don't know what's going to happen. But it truly was a win-win for the Clippers and for the Cavaliers. And so I don't want you to, it certainly wasn't unceremonious breakup, this one. This was great for both sides. And I think both sides are excited about the players they're getting.
Yami?
Hey, Kobe, Cameron Justice, News 5 Cleveland. You talked about just like the quick fit of Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. And so I wonder for you, how important was it to bolster the bench as you go out through the rest of this regular season and into the playoffs? And then what does that mean for some of the other guys that have stepped up in that role, like Craig Porter Jr. and Naquan Tomlin?
Great question, because I'll say this, Kevin, like the silver lining of the injuries this year has been the elevation and the evolution of our bench, right? And so, or the young guys from Jalen Tyson to Craig Porter Jr. To Naquan, and even Tyrese Proctor, who was a second-round pick, getting real minutes this year. And so you're absolutely right. They have elevated us. They've kept us at a high level. And I think they're still absolutely part of the rotational plans. 3 guys went out, 3 guys came in. How do we make that work? I'm certainly that's a Kenny question. But with these moves, we'll be able to convert Naquan, which is an incredible story. I know Mark Spears did a story on him and where he came from, and just a rare feat that he's accomplished. So when he does get converted, I would love for all you guys to congratulate him. It's just remarkable. Not only is he getting converted, but he's playing real minutes and he's helping us. So he's been a revelation. So I think hopefully it's a great problem to have, Cameron, when we're all healthy and we have to figure it out. But right now we still need them. And I think you saw some interesting lineups even last night, some 3-guard lineups where you saw Dennis on the floor with Craig Porter. And they're just absolutely just, stifling the ball. That was fun. 17 steals, deflections out into transition. Those 2 are going to be menaces, and we want to continue that.
And then you mentioned Evan Mobley being the present and the future for you guys. Where do you need to see from him? Like, what do you need to see from him moving forward throughout this?
We lost you.
More impact in the playoffs. What do you need from?
So I'll just say this: no one's impacting winning more than Evan Mobley. I've said this before. It's a rare feat to be drafted in the top 3 and never have a below 500 record. And so we put a lot on his shoulders. He's got to do both. He's got to be incredible defensively, and he has to elevate his game. I do know James is going to help him a lot, but we need some tenacity from him. And I think there's going to be a chip on his shoulder, him not being selected to the All-Star this year. That's a real thing for him. And so I'm excited for the last 30 games, but I'm really excited to how he elevates his game in the playoffs, to your question.
Jimmy?
Hey, Kobe. James is 36, and I know he's been incredibly durable for a guy his age. But how did you get comfortable with the idea of aging your backcourt 10 years?
Yeah, Jim, I mean, I would go back and I don't have it in front of me, but look at his game log. How many games has he missed, right? Played 79 games last year at 35 minutes a night. That's a lot. And he's still doing it at such a high level. So he's extremely durable, and knock on wood for us as well, but we hope for us as well. I think the guys at this level that are playing at this level at this age, it's truly remarkable. It's rare, but it's done. It's not tampering, but you still see a Kevin Durant playing at a remarkable level, a Stephen Curry playing at an incredible level, even LeBron James, right? To use his name, like these are guys that are elite at their craft. They get better as they age almost. They take care of their bodies. And that's why they're top 50, top 75 players of all time. And so, yes, it's certainly older, in terms of from Darius, but we're getting a player that's playing at an elite level, that's always available, that loves to hoop, and is highly motivated.
And there were some reports that came out after the trade about maybe some potential frustration with Darius's habits, maybe not.
Yeah, that's I can't use, I don't want to curse, but it's BS. Um, you know, we would have been perfectly happy having Darius return to this roster after the deadline if this opportunity didn't arise. This was not something, and you know this very well, certainly not marketing Darius Garland around the league, right? This was not someone that was available, someone we were trying to move. This became an opportunity that we exercised. He was getting back to a high level of play, and when he got hurt in that Philly game, um, we've had him for 7 years. He's a great worker. He has great attitude. And so when you hear stuff like that, it's just it's not fair to Darius, and it's not true. And he would believe me. He's invested a lot in his own rehab. If you went to his home, you'd see all the modalities that he's invested in to become the healthiest version of himself. That's using his own money, getting his own chef, his nutrition, all of it. Like this is him investing in his body. And so that's the thing that people don't understand. He cares. He truly, truly cares. And so I actually appreciate you asking that question so we can address that. That stuff just categorically false.
Chris?
Hey, Kobe, in saying that, what level of concern was there, if any, about his toe?
There really wasn't. Obviously he worked to get back from the surgically repaired toe, to where he was getting back to that all-star level. The second toe injury was a grade one toe sprain, and he was getting over that. He was in a return to play protocol, and so he wasn't far away.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Hey, Kobe, Jeff Shudell, News Herald. I want to ask you about the chemistry of your team now. Your locker room was in such harmony. How does this change things, if it does?
I appreciate that, Jeff. Maybe too much harmony, right? Maybe we do need to shake it up. But no, we have great guys, great culture pieces. And I don't know. I mean, listen, obviously a 30-point win last night, you're going to be feeling good, but you could see the bench last night. We're excited. There's some excitement. Obviously, you have to ingratiate three new pieces. But when the goal is to win big, you sort of come together pretty quickly. We're talking the first time I think I've seen since we've been here, like Dennis sort of called people together at the free throw line. It's huddle up. Like, wow, like that's real leadership, right? That come together. Let's talk. And it doesn't always have to be Donovan doing that. And so adding some leadership there, I think is going to be really, really important, really helpful.
And just to follow up, you mentioned his statistics in James Harden's in playoff games, but there have been times when he's kind of faded. Are you at all concerned about that?
I I think we looked at it, and we studied it really hard. I mean, there's some elimination games that I wish that he probably wishes he had back. Probably 5 really bad games out of 173 playoff games. But overall, certainly raises his level, raises our level. Um, it's hard being the number one option on a championship level team. I think the good news for him is he has another number one option right next to him. He has incredible shooting around him. He has two incredible bigs from a defensive standpoint and skill set that really help him. And so it's not James coming in here as the number one option, having to carry a team on his back and beat the 73-win Golden State Warrior world beaters, right? That's not where we're asking him to be here. So he elevates us, and we're not putting that burden on him like it's been in the past.
Mike Lucas.
Mike Lucas, Ultimate Cleveland Sports. How you doing, Koby?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Koby, coming into the season, we had talked a lot about the team's toughness and trying to answer that question. When you're looking to make moves at the deadline, you can look at the pieces Keon and Dennis and even Naquan being converted into an NBA contract. How much of that trait was an emphasis on the players you were looking at?
I think it's a great question in terms of like when you want to define toughness. I think there's characteristics that I want to extrapolate that a little bit. Kenny wants to play with a different kind of attitude this year, picking up full, deflection, steals, pressuring the ball, right? Getting turns in the backcourt, pressuring, people feeling you on the catch, blowing up screens, right? Breaking, blasting through a screen and making the catch further out. We didn't have the personnel for that, right? We didn't have the personnel for that. I think one or two guys could do that. Versus what we have now, when you have 5 or 6 guys that can pick up full and guard the ball and create havoc in the backcourt. And so I think that creates an identity. We'll see how that evolves over the next 30 games and how much we want to use that as a lever. But last night, and again, LA was not full strength, and we're at the deadline. It's funky, but you saw kind of that tenacity. And so if that's what you mean by toughness, it certainly adds to our dynamic.
And I know you mentioned earlier it wasn't a mandate to get under the second apron by any means, but just from a decision maker standpoint, when you're that close, 4-ish million from the second apron, how do you balance the future benefits of getting under the second apron, but also not trying to compromise your current team, which has championship aspirations? It's got to be a tough thing to balance at the same time.
It's difficult, Mike, but I think, at the end of the day, for us to get under the second apron, we would have had to lose a rotational piece right now. And that was hard for us to do. Let's make this run. Right. And again, I go back to Dan, say, Dan, this gives us flexibility. This does this, and this. It saves us money. Well, what gives us the best chance to win? And it's certainly not trading a rotational player at the deadline. So we'll address that in the summer. Sure, we got close. But I still think it was a really, really successful trade deadline for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Koby.
Yep.
Ethan.
Ethan Sands, Cleveland.com. What's up, Koby?
Ethan.
Koby, I know we've addressed the Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, but you also had to give up DeAndre Hunter to go get those players. This offseason, you talked a little bit about acquiring him, how he was going to help you guys at the small forward role, being 6'8", his defense. Now you guys don't have that piece. What does that also say about the evolution of Jalen Tyson and the trust that you guys have as an organization and what he's going to be able to do, especially in just his second year?
Yeah. I think it's both. Look, DeAndre came in and made an immediate impact. But you always have to look and say, okay, is this the right fit for us? And this year, it just hadn't been the right fit. And as a front office, sometimes you don't bat 1,000%. And the great thing about Dan is he allows you, I say, you fail quickly, right? You pivot and figure out what's a better fit. We're fortunate that way, that we were able to pivot and find a better fit for us. That being said, Ethan, to your point, Jalen has been a revelation for us, right? And so creating a pathway for him to be successful, minutes for him to be successful, certainly went into that decision-making process. And we couldn't be more excited about him. We talk about Evan as our future. We really need to start adding Jalen Tyson into that conversation.
And obviously, we've talked about some injuries, but Max Strus is still injured and is on his way back. I know we're a little bit past that 4 week mark. How is he progressing, and how do you feel like he is going to be able to integrate with this roster with James Harden and all these pieces?
The hardest part for him is being patient. This injury was a horrible offseason injury. It's taken a long time to heal, but he's progressing. He's getting back on the floor, and we're excited to have him for the stretch run. But we certainly need to take our time, or have been taking our time to make sure when he gets back, he's 100%. So I know no one's more excited than him to get back. No one's pushing more than him to get back. But at the same time, we want to make sure that he is 100% when he is. And I still don't have a timetable for you on that, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Carrie? Perry? Terry, you're muted.
Hey, Terry.
Yeah. What is like, if you were to look at the different moves you made, what are the things kind of you feel best about? And also the thing you mentioned about kind of get the personality of the team with the defense and that. How much was that weighing on the guys you're getting?
Yeah. Defensively, I always thought we were going to get better as the year went on. We were always hovering around the top 10 defense in the league, and so it wasn't horrible, but we could be doing better. I'm excited about the three additions and on all levels. James raises our ceiling for sure. Dennis gives us a different dynamic. Downhill driver. I mean, last night we just lived in the paint, which just puts a lot of pressure on the defense. We just didn't have that this year, outside of Darius and Donovan. So him getting downhill was really important for us. Keon's a really nice piece for us. Catch and shoot, can play 2-3, can guard up, deflection steals. I think you saw some of that last night. Wonderful, wonderful person. So I'm excited about all three additions, Terry.
And then also, just in general, when you have to bring all these guys together quickly, to get ready for the playoffs, is there a certain strategy to that? And did you look at these guys? And also, let me try this again. Did you look at the guys and who they were, that you could bring them into this situation and get this thing to work pretty quick?
Well, if you do look at sort of what went out and what
Yeah.
came in, we've replaced at each spot, right? And so when you took at Darius going out, we replaced the point guard there, right? When Lonzo Ball going out, we replaced with a backup point guard. DeAndre going out, replaced with Keon Ellis in terms of just the wing minutes. So there is slots ready for those roles, different players. And so we need to get to work, and we have 30 games and some practices, and we got to get going.
Thanks a lot, Koby.
John Sable?
Hey, Kobe, John Sable, Fox 8 here in Cleveland. How you doing?
Hey, John.
When you look back at evaluation in the last few months of what you wanted to do with the roster, are you able to say like at what point you looked at potentially looking at these type of moves, specifically when it comes to James Harden? Like when you looked at evaluating, not necessarily trading Darius, but looking at James, like when you pinpointed that, are you able to talk about that at all?
I think it's fair to say we had an underwhelming start to the season. But every year you look at how can I improve the roster, and every year you canvass the league. Obviously, we're always one of the more active teams to try to figure out how to improve or how to get better and what opportunities are out there. And we have great relationships around the league, and so people feel that they can do business with us, which is great. And we sort of navigate that, put it all on our board, and figure out what's the best strategy to help our team win. And I think for us, there is urgency, right? There is urgency to take this team to the next level. And so all of that went into the moves that we made.
Branson?
Branson Wright, ESPN, Anscape. Hey, Kobe.
Hey, Branson.
Hey, Kobe, during the trade deadline, did you think at all on getting the team bigger? I know you did at the guard position, but did you think about adding, getting bigger at other positions?
It's a great question because yes, I do think the league is getting bigger. It's getting more physical. Those players aren't readily available, so it's not like you could just press a button and go get the big physical wing defender that can also hit a three. It's difficult. It's hard to find. But I do think we added tenacity. I think we added some toughness, some leadership, certainly playoff experience. And it's a big deal to have a 6'5" point guard, right? That's a big deal for us. It's a departure from what we played with before. I think it's going to help us in the playoffs. And James is a big dude. You guys have been around him. You'll see him. He's all 6'5" and he's stout. He's powerful. He's strong. So it's a different look for us there. And we can start our starting five will be a lot bigger just by adding him.
And this is the last question. Go ahead, Law.
Hey, Kobe Law Murray at The Athletic. Good to see you, man. Hold on. Am I muted?
Yo, no, sorry. Go ahead, Law.
All right. Good to see you, Kobe. You mentioned earlier about that this being specifically an opportunity that was brought to you several weeks ago. And I just imagine, like you got a player on one team and their representatives contacting you guys in Cleveland. And I just wanted more insight on what that process is to be in a place where you're juggling this opportunity with a very significant, notable player, especially one that wound up having you part ways with a very significant piece that you drafted and developed.
Lars, I wish I could bring you into my front office and it'd be a pretty incredible documentary and some access there. Unfortunately, I can't do that. But it's hard. These are hard decisions to make. There a lot of discussion. Ultimately, you get Dan and Grant Gilbert involved. You talk to them because the magnitude is so big, to your point, and what Darius meant for our organization, what James could mean for our run. And so at the end of the day, I do want people to understand that we're in a really fortunate position that players do identify our situation, like what we have, right? Really know the roster. I think the thing that people forget is the players are really smart, really, really smart. They're educated. They know different organizations, who's on those teams, players, skill sets, and they kind of imagine themselves in that situation and how they can help and how they can win. James is a savant. He knows our depth intimately. He really understands our dynamic, how we play. And so that excited me even more, the fact that he knew our depth chart really well. And so all of that together obviously made us pull the trigger on that. But you're right. This is Lawrence, I have best job in the world, right? I get to watch basketball for a living. My job at the end of the day is to bring the best talent to Cleveland and set them up for success. That's the job. And so we're bringing one of the greatest players of all time to Cleveland, who's still playing at an elite level. We couldn't be more excited.